Hi everybody, Nick here with a short video. This was going to be done for an internal training for our team here that helps you with LeadsHook and tracking, which seems to be a very common issue where tracking scripts and events and all that sort of stuff is. We see a lot of mistakes. Most of our time is consumed in helping specifically in that area. So while I was making training for the team internally, I thought I might as well just turn this into a training that I can share with all of our users as well. And so I'll begin with taking the context of Google. So just explain, but this same applies with any other third-party tracking script that's client side, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. So the first confusion was, and I'll go through a little bit of sort of give you the context from a decision tree standpoint. You fire a script, a tracking script like Facebook Pixel or Google Analytics that fires first. And how do you fire that? Generally speaking, you'll fire that through a script that is put onto at the account or decision tree level. So in this case, we're firing this one here immediately. In this example, we'll be doing something a little bit different, just to show you the difference. So in this one here, we're firing the GTM pixel, which is sitting right over here. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's the classic GTM. The other one that you saw was being done through scripts, and it was done through a script that has already been saved in the global scripts area. I'll show you where that is. And so if we just open that up under scripts, and if you have a look at global scripts here, you'll see that it's sitting right at the bottom there, and it's actually a Google Analytics script, but that's the G tag right there. And in this one here, we'll see that it's GTM, and I'll show you what that is. But this GTM here is actually calling the the analytics.js version. What is that? What's all that mumbo jumbo? It's basically just how GA, because Google Analytics over time has come up with newer versions. There's GA4 now, which will be going through, which will be good. We'll be creating a container for you for that very shortly, but leaving this discussion to just analytics and G tag. So let's have a quick browse of that. If I come over to my tracking code, you can see there this is the G tag version right there. The analytics version looks a little bit like this, right? And you could previously grab that from your Google property, your Google the tracking code area, but has been replaced now with this newer version. So this one here, which is analytics.js, right there, is an older version. This is the newer version, and now we've even got GA4. We'll be moving everything to GA4 shortly. We just found that there were a few bugs and stuff, so we just didn't want to mess around with the cross-domain tracking stuff until we were absolutely sure that it's working properly, rather than needlessly give you a half solution that doesn't work properly. So that's the context of the difference between analytics and GTag and GA4 now. But similarly, this is not about Google. This is just about any tracking script. So similarly, you're going to have your Facebook pixel, and then you're going to have your Facebook events, like a view content event. So similarly, Google has a whole lot of events, or allows you to pass one main event. So that's your GA analytics.js, the old one. That's the new one. But the structure or the code that you use is different. So the old version, which is analytics.js, requires you to use this type of a script, or this type of it has GA, it's got send, and then this curly bracket thing. While the GTag version has something quite different. It looks a little bit like this. Same values, but the script itself looks a little bit different. So it's important that if you are adding in GTag, that you don't end up using this version, because obviously it's not going to work because this is for, and vice versa. So we've seen examples where people have put this into for tracking, which is in this case they've put that in this area here, and then ended up using this version of the node level event, and obviously that's not going to work because it's talking to the wrong script, or it's looking to fire this when this function is not available, right? So that's essentially, yeah. So just be careful which one you use. If you use this, then you're going to use that. If you use this, you're going to use that. Similarly, you're going to have your various other tracking scripts that all work the same. You're going to put something at the decision tree level and then a whole bunch of stuff at the node level. Now let's have a look at the node level tracking. Very simple. They both have the similar thing firing. In this case, what we're doing is we're firing this on exit. And let's have a look. And so this is where you're going to put your actual script in. So we've got the GA send over here, and that's going to work because it's going to be analytics.js. Now this one here, on purpose, I believe it's not going to work, principally because in this example is because this code, I believe, is still using the GA version. So which is right there. There you go. See, it's using GA, but it was loading in the GTag tracking script. So if you go right here, oops, in this section, so there you go. It's using GTag, but on the node is trying to fire an event that is not the right one. It's using the one from the analytics.js. So just be careful that you do end up using the right version, otherwise obviously it's not going to work. Now, how do you trace this stuff? All right, so once you've added this in, I want to see if it's working or not. What do I do? So for that, we'll go through this particular version. I'm going to just get my direct link version here. I'm going to copy this, bring it over to the new tab, paste it. Before you hit enter, go to developer, your JavaScript console, be in the network tab, make sure that your disable cache and preserve log is clicked, and let's have a look. Right, so if you have a look here, nothing's gonna, this node level event is not gonna fire, right? And the reason for that is because it's we've set it up so that it fires on exit. So there you go, on exit, and exit means when you click the node. On entry would be fire immediately. So let's have a look and see what we see here. I'm going to go through. I've just filtered it for Google here, so we can see that a whole lot of stuff from Google is fired. We've got GTM firing. We've got the analytics.js firing. If you're using the GTag version, then it'll show gtag.js instead of this. Okay, it's formed some audiences because we've got that's how we've set it up. And you've got your page view that have fired, and that's going to fire regardless of whether you put in node level script or not. I'm just going to clear this out, and I find this quite handy. And I'm going to click, so that way you don't have to search for it. You will see here that we've got an event firing and then the page view firing. Right, so that's the event that's firing, which we set up right over here, and that's the quickest, fastest way to check if your events are working or not. Right, so I hope that gives you a bit of a primer about the differences between the various tracking scripts, making sure that you use the right version, and also you use the corresponding script that goes with it. Just to show you where we got that from, just a quick Google search. That's the GTag version right there, and that's the analytics version right there, and they're both sitting in their respective files. I haven't played extensively with GA4 yet, but I'm guessing it'll have its variation, or probably uses the GTag version. That's okay. We'll make a separate video for that particular use case. So I hope that has given you a bit of a primer. You can do this for your Facebook as well. So therefore, in your decision tree level, at the DT level, you're going to add your Facebook pixel here, and then your events fire at each of the nodes to send the data back to Facebook. Right, so I hope that clears out a little bit about the tracking scripts as well as node level tracking. Now, just one final point before I finish, that that your underlying script needs to fire first before your event level script will fire. So if you have a look at this script here, the node, which is right here, you'll notice that there's no URLs here. So it's actually not talking to Google. So this script itself, it is relying on this function called GA. And so therefore it requires analytics.js to fire first. When it fires, it offers the browser all the other functions that Google Analytics provides. And that's why this fires later. So so the way the LeadsHook is set up, your scripts in this section will fire first, and then the one on the node will fire second, because logically that also makes sense, because it needs your DT level script to fire first, so that it makes a whole lot of the other functions and stuff available, so that you can do something quite as simple as putting this thing onto the node. So it's relying on this to it's relying on this function called GA, and GA is loaded by analytics.js, which is loaded from up here. I'm sorry, this is a little bit technical, but just wanted to sort of give a deeper understanding about what are these node level scripts doing. They're relying on the underlying script to fire first, whether it be the Facebook pixel or the Google Analytics code or any other tracking script that there are. They pretty much work in a very similar fashion, where you're going to have a base level script that adds in all the main, that's the one that has got the URL to load up all the functions that the tracking script needs into the browser. And then on the node, you really just are just firing simple functions to send the data back to your various tracking systems like Google and Facebook. Right, so that concludes this very short video to explain the difference between the two, and a little bit of, hopefully that eliminates a little bit of the confusion around node level scripts and decision tree level scripts. And this time the example is done in the context of Google. All right, thanks guys, bye for now.